Got Your Back Pod Stream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Got Your Back Tuesday night live stream post-game edition. That's how you salvage a road trip. Oilers, after losses in Toronto and Montreal, grabbed themselves a win against the Ottawa Senators. The big boys woke up, didn't they? We're going to break it all down for you tonight. Rob Brown and Jason Strudwick will be joining me shortly, and Chris Sabunia is pushing all the buttons and pulling all the levers at the Nerve Center in Kelowna. Welcome to Got Your Back, folks. Brought to you as always by our amazing title sponsor, Play Alberta, the official gaming partner of all the major Alberta teams. Whoever you cheer for, Play Alberta is cheering you on. Bet on your favorites, get in on odds boosts, and make game time more interesting. Deposit today. They will get you a free $50 bet with the code GYB11. That is code GYB11, gets you $50 free bets. Visit playalberta.ca. With the Oilers on a road trip, I am here in the Adrenaline Diesel studio. If you need a part manufactured, replicated, or repaired, Adrenaline Diesel has you covered with their brand new machine shop. Visit adrenalinediesel.ca. And with the team away, early start, that gives us a chance to wait for Brownie, and we get the whole band together. A couple shows in a row, boys. All three of us neatly tucked into our home offices. Struds, this is, I like it, man. Like these early starts on the road. I'd be happy with about 60 of these every year.
Is everyone happy with my headspace? Is there any issues about how high my head is? Am I too close? Am I too good looking? Like, what can I do to satisfy you three
Brownie,
people?
you go ahead. Brownie, you take that when you put it on a tee.
The size of your head is a bit of an issue for all of us, but I mean,
like, look at the window. Look at the three heads in the window right now, and look at the size of your head compared to ours.
Would you say that to a moose? A moose has a big body, has a big head. That's what happens. You two little turd herders. What do you guys like a pinhead?
I have a giant head, Struds. Like, I have a giant head.
You talk about we're top heavy.
We're not doing you any favors with that framing, bud. I gotta come over again and
I'm happy.
I'll bring you a tripod that works. And you're happy? You're happy with the setup?
Now, there's a lot of people on the stream that want me closer. I get it. Like, they want to feel like I'm in their room, right in their bedroom.
Yeah.
As they're having cookies in bed.
All kinds of Jason Strudwick just coming right at you right now. By the way, who's standing there holding a flashlight on your forehead? Just tell them to hold still.
Well, I can down. I got to dial down a little bit there. Is that better?
Zuby,
Yep.
you got to square this away ahead of time, man.
His headroom is fine. It's the
head. It's not the headroom. It's the head.
It's more that his head's right in front of Bo Jackson. We should probably space out your pictures to be a little bit more. I'm more thinking about the whole frame.
That's fair.
But I think his headroom is good. His forehead's fine. I think it's all good.
Glad everyone's satisfied. Now let's talk about the team. Everyone got it out. I think plunging neckline on you. You got a drowned out color on Schauger. I mean, geez, you guys. I don't comment on your outfits or issues.
I think we got to
do as much as you
do. Actually, you do quite a bit.
I have
all of a sudden he's all honest. Some stranger says, "Get all that handsomeness on the screen at once."
There it is.
I think we also got a new.
Matheson.
We got a new Struddy. I think we got a new Struddy T-shirt too. Would you say that to a moose? There's a picture of Strud's head with the quote, "Would you say that to a moose?"
Machine Gun Yanmark says Struddy's head is getting very big ever since his hits on Overdrive. Little national exposure for our little local podcaster. Definitely getting him a little cocky.
Out of my mom's basement. I set up shop.
Well, this was sporting and fun. You guys want to talk a little oilage?
Yeah,
might as well get to it, hey? Let's get to our breakdown, brought to you by the Alberta Ram dealers. Cross Canada clear-out continues with big deals. Get up to $13,600 in total discounts on a 2024 Ram 1500 DT Laramie Crew Cab. See your Ram dealer today. As we've said many times, these are just sharp-looking trucks. Every time I drive past one, I think about that. Beautiful. Check out your Alberta Ram dealer today. Okay, gentlemen. So we talked last show, about a pretty sleepy top line. Pretty sleepy group at the top that had an off night. And I know it was Evan Bouchard that lifted the lid in a nice way after a couple of games where he was also in the crosshairs. So, I don't know, Struddy, it seemed like a night where, not that they read their press, but the big guys were maybe feeling it a little bit.
Well, they were. First, we have to talk, I think, about the idea of putting them together. You know, I said I wouldn't have put them together, I believe. And I said I would have moved Skinner up. Well, we got half of that. And, they put Skinner up and they put the big guys together. And they put Paul Colson beside him, which was, I would say I'd be surprised that he was there when historically it's been Nuge or Hyman, right? So they put those guys together. And then you're right, Bouchard comes out and Chabot gets dangled by a D-man, which that is a really hard look. Like that is, I don't care how skilled the D-man is when it's D-man on D-man violence like that. And then he goes far side shelf, Brownie. That is, as a D-man, you're wearing that one for a while. That was awful.
Man. I don't know what Chabot's doing there though. Like he was so far over and then he's just kind of sticking his stick out. Like Bouchard's like, are you kidding me? Okay, I'll go around you. What you love about it is the confidence that Bouchard have. A lot of times when Connor McDavid makes a guy look silly, he's gonna finish. When Leon Draisaitl makes a guy look silly, because they expect to make guys look silly. But for the normal guy, if you beat someone, all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, and then you panic, throw it on net. Like I just beat that guy. He made him look dumb. But to have the finish that he had, so he made a great play. And then to have the finish, that was a nice goal. Those are nice hands. And that set the tone for the night for the Edmonton Oilers. So I think it also set the tone for the night for the Ottawa Senators. They made a lot of horrible defensive gaffes. And that was the first of many. And that is one of their best, if not their best defenseman, Chabot. And he got beat. You're right, Bouchard, you can't have a defenseman. It's one thing if that was McDavid making you look silly. Evan Bouchard can't make you look silly like that. And that just set the tone for the entire night.
Now, do you think that he did a better job of walking Chabot, or do you think did a better job of walking Bouchard later in the game? How about him getting like legs, everything pointed in the wrong direction, getting walked right up Main Street too? And he gave up a little bit tonight too. There were a few dicey moments, but he scored a beautiful goal. It was an important goal for his team. So we'll put a big spotlight on that one for Evan Bouchard, and we'll leave it at that. He's still working on those other elements of his game. So Struds, you brought up the big line, and Vasily Podkolzin moved on to that big line. Brownie, you were talking last show. You thought, look, yes, he's doing a lot of things well. Yes, there's lots to like about his game, but he's simply not producing, and felt maybe it was time to bump him down. Well, the head coach goes the other way and leans into the player a little bit and gives him a look with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Now, good for Podkolzin in that these guys are ready to burst tonight, and he was along for that ride, and so he definitely benefited from that. But I actually thought he acquitted himself pretty well on that line and actually fit in reasonably well. What's your assessment, of the decision, but then the way Podkolzin kind of answered that challenge, and not everybody can hang with those two?
Well, the reason I didn't like the second line with Podkolzin and Arvidsson and Leon, because Podkolzin hadn't scored. He wasn't producing, and Arvidsson hadn't either. And you can't have a second line not scoring. But what I did say, and we talked about it a lot, Podkolzin does a lot of really good things when he's on the second line. He keeps plays alive. He's physical. He creates more room on the ice because he goes hard to the net. But he wasn't producing. When he plays with Connor and Leon as a line, he doesn't have to produce. He gets to do all the same things. Connor and Leon are going to produce. So it's much easier for him to play with those two and much more effective because he's not counted on for any offense on that line. He's counted on to keep plays alive, get in on the forecheck, get them the puck, be physical, create space on the ice. When it's Leon and Podkolzin and Arvidsson, or Leon, Podkolzin, and Skinner, well, then you also need to produce, and he hadn't. He was fantastic tonight. He was very good in this hockey game. But at the end of the night, Connor and Leon won this game for the Edmonton Oilers. There was just nothing that the Ottawa Senators could do to combat them. And that's why when Chris Knobloch looked at the Ottawa Senators, okay, they don't have a defensive pairing that can play against these two, nor do they have 3 forwards that they can put on and slow them down. I'm going to put them together. I'm going to let them run wild like they have every other game in the last 5 years against Ottawa. So I thought it was a good move putting them together. And I thought Podkolzin, the role that he plays, I thought he played it to perfection with those two.
Great point. And what I loved is I loved how he irritated the other team. Specifically, when he turnbuckled Jensen. Right, it looked like something Macho Man would have done to Hulk Hogan in 1982. I
did
love
it
that.
On purpose, Struddy? You think he did it on purpose? Like he kind of looked it off a little bit. I think he probably saw it coming.
I think he's
shove. You think he did?
I think you take it a little further if you see the turnbuckle there. Why not? You're irritating the other team, right? And then Stützle, of all the guys on that team, of all of them, that's the last guy I think would come and kind of do a retaliation penalty, and it wasn't even really that bad. But I love that. I think that he's got to play that in a certain style that people have to react to what he does, and that includes maybe a little extra on the hits, driving the net, maybe bumping into goalies, running into good players, because when he's playing with those guys, he's always playing against good players. So you have to make it rough for them, and I think drawing the attention away from Connor, whomever he's playing with, is important, and getting attention on him. I loved it. I loved his game tonight.
That's a good point, Schauger, that Struddy just made there about when he's out there with Connor and Leon, he's always playing against other good players. And that was what always made Kane an effective player when he was playing with McDavid and or Leon. When he was going in on the forecheck, it was going against Doughty. It was going against Quinn Hughes. It was always going against the other team's best players because he was playing with Connor or Leon. And Podkolzin had that same sort of job tonight, and I thought he was very good at it.
Okay, let's get to the Weiss Johnson sound box here. A really important piece of sound on this storyline that I want you guys to hear and comment on. From now until November 22nd, 20% off all garage heater installs from Weiss Johnson. Help make your life more comfortable from a warm car, toasty man cave, golf sim. Contact Weiss Johnson today to get in on this great deal. Jingle!
Weiss Johnson, whoa!
So, Struds, you have made the point a few times on this show when Leon had Podkolzin on his line, you were saying consistently that you thought Leon didn't seem to mind, and that if it was an issue, Podkolzin probably wouldn't be on that line, that Leon was potentially looking at it favorably because of how hard he was working and the way he was doing things. So Podkolzin has been a little bit under fire, right? Because the production hasn't been there and he spent some time in the top 6. The group is clearly hearing that. So Connor McDavid was asked post-game about Vasily Podkolzin on his line. And this is what I want you to pay attention to, guys, because McDavid has had a ton of line mates over his time here in Edmonton. And I have asked him this question 50 times. How do you feel about this guy? How do you feel about Puljujarvi? How do you feel about Yamamoto? How do you feel about Skinner? And he normally gives respectful, good answers, but I'm going to submit to you guys, he talks about this player like he cares about him a lot, and he's heard the noise, and he is pulling for this player. Here's McDavid.
He was great. Honestly, the numbers aren't showing. I know he hasn't scored, and lots been made of that, but he works so hard, keeps so many pucks alive, makes so many great little subtle plays that, the media doesn't love to write about, but are so important to, being a good line mate. And I thought he played great.
He's won him over, Struds. I'm telling you, that response from McDavid tells me this player has won him over, and he's okay with him being on his line.
Yeah, and he's a worker bee, and guys like worker bees, and they love when they give him the puck. Like that's just the truth. And right now, like wasn't that a 4th round draft pick trade for Podkolzin? Like that's looking pretty good. I know there's been some other things, but we haven't really panned out just yet. But a 4th rounder for this guy, he's looking pretty good. At worst, he looks like a top 9 player, right? Somewhere. And he's right tonight, he was a top 3, which is, probably not where he lands. But you always hear, and I think it's you, Schauger, has talked about how much time he puts in before and after practice, and he continues to do that. And if he continues to get these opportunities, eventually, hopefully, the hands find the back of the net a few times and he can relax a little bit, because I think the skill's there, Brownie. You just got to find a way to put it together by the net.
I don't know if the skill's there for goal scoring. I really don't. I mean, Connor McDavid, yes, he said wonderful things about him, but Rishaug played with him for one game. So what if he would have played for them for the last 20 and Podkolzin has 0 goals? I mean, there's a lot of press being written about Nugent Hopkins right now only having 2 goals on the season. He does a lot of other things really, really good. A lot of press being written about Hyman's got 3 goals. They both got more goals than Podkolzin. Podkolzin does a lot of great things, and everyone is on that team is cheering for them. I'm cheering for him. I love to watch him play. He's fantastic what he does out there, but you cannot play. If he goes another 20 games without scoring a goal in the top 6, you think he's a top 6 player? Because it's 20 games into the season. He's got 0 goals, and he's played almost all, or last 12 or whatever, with Leon Draisaitl. So he does need production. Yamamoto was a great worker bee, fantastic worker bee, and he had better offensive numbers than Podkolzin. So to be in the top 6, you have to eventually produce. And I'm of course these players on his team love him. His work ethic is fantastic. He sticks up for his teammates. He seems fun. He's appreciative. I think the biggest thing about watching him, he's appreciative of the chance he has. And to me, that's my favorite part about him. He realizes and relishes the opportunity that's been given to him. And I hope it does work out for him. I hope he finds the back of the net. But he's going to have to, because you can't stay in the top 6 with 0 goals.
So I guess maybe the discussion point is, like, you're right, Rob. Big picture thought on any NHL team, if you're in the top 6, you need to be able to produce, right? Mm-hmm. You're right. On this team, the way it's constructed, guy makes $1 million. What are the better options for that other player that they need to find for their top 6? And that's really what they've been struggling to figure out, right? Is they don't have a lot of better options. So I guess the discussion is on this team, does he deserve a look there, even if the goals aren't coming, but he continues to play well and he's picking up some assists here and there and such. So is he more deserving on this team than the Skinners and then some of those other guys? And I see a head coach that's rewarding a guy. And look, I'm critical of this head coach when I don't think he rewards players for the right things. Podkolzin is as physical as anybody, works as hard as anybody, as tenacious as anybody. I like the fact that this head coach is rewarding him, because everybody else is going to see that, including Skinner, including everybody else. So I kind of like it, and I'm not sure there's that much better an option that is more deserving.
No, but I think going forward, if you have a second line or a first line, you need production out of them. Or you're going to have to go find someone else. You want to go into the playoff with a guy that on your second line that's got 4 goals on the season, 5 goals. Right now he's on pace for 0. So he needs to find the back. And when's the last time you saw him get a goal scoring chance? You two, either one of you right now, when's the last time you saw Podkolzin have an opportunity to score a goal?
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
He had a good shot in the slot today that got blocked. McDavid set him up today. He had a really good look right in the slot.
Okay, he had a shot blocked. So now that's what we're doing right now. So here's a guy that played with Connor and Leon that had a shot blocked. Yeah. And neither one of you can remember in the last dozen games when he almost scored. So that's my point.
I think he's going to find some scoring. I really do. He scored 14 goals one year. It's not
3 years ago. 3 years ago. Okay, here's one thing. Yeah. Every time they put Connor and Leon together, I like having Podkolzin there, because he can work hard for them, and that leaves Nuge to play with Hyman and whoever, and then that line will be better and a better chance of scoring. But if Connor plays with his line and now it's Leon, Podkolzin, and whoever, then Podkolzin has to score. He has to produce, because Arvidsson hasn't proved he can score here yet. Skinner hasn't proved he can score here yet. So you can't have a line where nobody's scoring.
Yeah. Some really good conversations, Zuby, in the stream right now about this, and really good points made by Brownie. Let's just check in on a few of these guys. Paulie says, Brownie, you're missing the point a bit. He had 2 points tonight. Davo and Leo, love the guy. Chad Jenkins says he's kind of a Costin. Yeah, kind of. Mike Smith, Podkolzin is a lesser Yamamoto, ? He's asking. Shane Matheson says he can hold it down until Evander comes back. So a couple of comments there. CK Pond. Pods does more than what Skinner does for 1/3 the price, and he's defensively responsible, throws a check, and puck retrieves. Pods will be a solid, heavy energy guy on line 3 when Kane comes back, says Bobo Fett. So yeah, people are, Brown, it's fair. Hey, Struds, like if this team's going to go to a Stanley Cup final again, I mean, you're going to need players who are more regularly contributing in your top 6. But at the same time, it's kind of working in the moment. I expect he'll be there to start the game on Thursday, wouldn't you?
You don't think they're going to keep those guys together? I guess it depends what happens with Eriksson Ek. Do we know if he's playing?
He played tonight.
Eriksson Ek played tonight?
Yeah. Minnesota's good. Well, it also depends what happens with Hyman.
Yeah.
If Hyman plays next game or not, too. So
no update after the game, guys, by the way, from Knobloch on Hyman.
Yeah.
There. So
yeah, they might split him up against the Wild again.
Okay.
Them being Connor and Leon.
I mean, Podkolzin's in your top 6 going forward right now, simply because no one else is playing better. 100%.
Yeah. Hello.
Go ahead. What's up?
I think they got to get, again, Skinner. They got to find a way to get this guy feeling it, right? I think that's the guy. I don't know. That's what he was brought here for, and it doesn't seem like there's any interest from anyone in the top 6 to play with him right now. Brownie, you know more than I do about playing up top.
Or a coach to have him play in the top 6.
Good point. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And a lot of it, and part of it, and why Podkolzin's probably there ahead of Skinner, well, I wouldn't even say probably is Skinner has made some defensive mistakes, poor reads, bad decisions, and you can't do that if you're playing and you're getting minutes. And he's been moved down the lineup because of his defensive play. It's fine if Skinner had 12 goals right now, they would overlook defensive miscues, but he doesn't, so they're not overlooking him.
Yeah, good point. One more time to the Weiss Johnson soundbox. Here's Chris Knobloch on number 92.
Well, we have a lot of faith in him, and a lot of, I think he feels it. If that was the boost over, then, but he's been doing all the little things, and right from day one when he showed up at training camp and putting in the time. Usually the first guy on the ice, usually the last guy off the ice. So he's working on his game. It's been paying off, and he's done a really good job for us. And despite not scoring a goal, he's done tremendous.
Big guys are heating up. McDavid, 14 points in his last 6 games played. He's got 6 goals. Draisaitl, 11 in his last 6 games played. He's up to 14 goals now on the season, right up near the top. Evan Bouchard with a goal, 2 assists, 3 points tonight as well. So the big guys finding the offense, and a big difference for the Oilers tonight. Let's get to our Relentless player, brought to you by UCAN Youth Services. If you're looking for laborers for your business, UCAN Youth Services can help. They train 18 to 25-year-olds, get them ready, willing, and able to join the workforce. You got to check out their Road to Work program at www.ucan.ca. It really is phenomenal, the program that they put these kids through, getting them ready, prepared to rejoin the workforce. Whatever they've been through, they bring them in, show incredible care and compassion, and they really do help turn lives around. We're so proud to be a partner with UCAN Youth Services on the show, and a monthly donor as well. So please donate if you can. Struds, who do you got for Relentless Player of the Night?
No, this one's easy. I'm going with Podkolzin. I know we've talked about him a lot, but I had him written down after the first period. In my slot, my Relentless Player slot. Listen, he's the guy is. I kept thinking about during the game, a 4th round draft pick is what they gave up for him. And if we didn't look at anything else, nothing, who else came, who else left, whatever happened, this is a trade that's working out so far from a team rival in the Vancouver Canucks. So. He's being heavy. He's getting hits. He's getting to the net. Like, it's a lot of good things. So to me, he was the guy. I'm not sure if you guys had someone else you had in mind.
No, I thought that's a great one. No, it's funny about that, Struds. Watching the Canucks play, they were missing Dakota Joshua for a while, and they lost some energy and some emotion in their games. Podkolzin, to me, seems like the exact player that Rick Tocchet would want in his lineup. Now, maybe he doesn't play in your top 6 there, but to me, if he's in, like, he brings that same energy every single night. It's odd. Like, I don't remember Podkolzin a whole lot when he was with the Canucks. I know he played a playoff game last year, but from what I've seen here, it's like, how did he fall out of favor in Vancouver? Even if he's not a top 6 guy, like, an energy, like Dakota playing with a Dakota Josh, you imagine how irritating that line would be to play against if you got Joshua and you got Podkolzin out there playing against your best players, just getting in their face all night long. So it is, as you said, I think it's been a fantastic pickup thus far. It's only 20 games, but this has been a very, very good move for the Edmonton Oilers.
Shane Matheson throwing in an honorable mention for Ty Emberson. 4 blocks, 4 hits on the night. Like the physicality that Ty Emberson is bringing, guys. I tell you, for the amount of money they're paying for Podkolzin and Emberson, between those two, they're getting good production, good value there, for sure. Not, equivalent to what they lost, but both the core players that were brought back in return to try and fill those Broberg-Holloway holes are doing what they can, and it's definitely helped mitigate the loss a little bit. Also, Josh Brown, throw that in there. Struds, he's been scrapping like crazy in the minors too. I think he's got 4 or 5 fights down there. Comes up, finds one tonight. Is it just me, or does that guy stand straight up with his head right up there, and like he doesn't hide at all when he's fighting? Man, there's no protection. He's just swinging away.
Yeah, that was a pretty wide open fight, and the guys got tagged a little bit there, but nothing too serious. Yeah, that's a someone's going down type of fighting style, and it's crazy. It's crazy to me, but you know what? It looks great when you're watching on TV.
Yeah, there was something just aggressive about Brown's style of fighting. Like, he just stood there knowing he was going to take a few, but just waiting to just get the hammer going. And I liked it, man. Like, it was different. There wasn't a lot tactical about it. He was just like, I'm going to punch you really, really hard. And if I got to wait a sec to find the right minute to do it, I'm going to stand here and get punched while I wait. Like, it was kind of, yeah, it was interesting. And he's been fighting a lot. So honorable mention for him as well. Zuby, let's do the YouTube poll before we go to our first break here. Brought to you by DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center. Helping you play better golf since 1999 with that TrackMan Fitting Bay. Instruction, after-sales support, golf merchandise, and clothing. Check out their pro shop style atmosphere at 5311 99th Street in Edmonton. The funnest pro shop you ever been to, because it's always a barrel of laughs down at DeBoer's. Great crew with Scotty and TJ and Al. Lots of fun in there. Okay, Zuby, this is the topic that we're going to dig into in our next segment. The Oilers did pick up a player off of waivers today, Kasperi Kapanen. We'll dive into that pickup in our next segment, but he is the topic of our poll.
Yeah, so the poll question tonight is, how do you feel about the Kasperi Kapanen pickup? The choices are, don't really get it, nice depth pickup, likely AHL bound, or why not recall Philp instead?
All right, those are your 4 options. We'll dig a little deeper into the player and finish breaking down the game in our next segment. Let's take a break here, Zuby. This has Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta. We'll be right back.
With over 18 years in the industry, Kelly Zaretsky and her team at Blue Summit Accounting deliver client-focused solutions and financial guidance for success in a simple and comfortable way. Whether it's for corporate or personal needs, Blue Summit Accounting can help with taxes, estate planning, financial services, bookkeeping, and more. Get in touch today. Email bluesummitacct@gmail.com or call 780-416-9662.
Ready to go all in this season? Mr. Dirk's got you covered with express on-site tailoring, a wide selection of craftsman-made suits, sport coats, and casual staples for every occasion. Score big with Mr. Dirk. We've always got your back. Visit us off White Ave, south of 102nd Street, or browse online at mrdirk.com.
All right, let's get to our takeaways, brought to you by Horizon Ag and Turf. They've got an extensive lineup of pre-owned equipment with over 500 pieces online, including acreage tractors, four-wheel drive tractors, combines, lawnmowers, skid steers, bobcats, and oh so much more. Visit horizonagturf.com to browse through the used equipment today. Horizon Ag and Turf, your local John Deere experts. Kasperi Kapanen was the pickup today. Look, Noah Phillips coming off a 4-point night, and I think fans might be kind of wondering why not just recall that player and give him an opportunity here. So first and foremost, let's deal with the why and what we think might be going on here, Struds. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, with Arvidsson out, the Oilers have been shorthanded. Having to play 11-7 is not ideal. But they could have remedied it as well with just bringing Noah Philp up. So what do you think is behind the decision to go out and grab somebody from the outside?
Well, I'm guessing it's as much about anything as keeping Noah Philp and other young
Kirk
prospects.
Savoy. Yep.
Yeah, Savoy down in the minors. Like, I think that's they want those guys to develop and play and be ready. Like they lost a lot this summer. Holloway, Broberg, some young McLeod, they traded away. They lost a lot of youth. They got to replace some younger players, and they need to do it correctly. And let's assume that next year, both those two players are on the Oilers, that they get, well, I guess not so much younger in Phillips' case, but you know what I mean? They get some fresh legs in there, and they get younger and better, and cheaper. So I think that's what I think it's about. It's about making sure those guys stay in the minors and play.
Yeah, I honestly, I know that we talked earlier, Schauger, that they've got some injuries in the minors. I don't not know much about Kapanen at all. I'm going to go out on a limb, say that when the Oilers play their first playoff game this year, that Kapanen won't be on this team anymore. Yeah. That's just a prediction. That's knowing nothing about him or that's my guess is he's a Band-Aid right now. I mean, but there's an opportunity as guys in the bottom of this Oilers lineup have not been producing, I guess, and he's going to get a look-see. He's faster. The one thing they've talked about is the Oilers have not been fast enough this year. He is faster, but I was a little surprised when I saw he was waived by St. Louis. At St. Louis that waived him.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the Oilers pick him up. So yeah, I was surprised today.
So the rundown, 28 years of age, 6'1", 195, give or take. He's a first-round pick from back in 2014, 22nd overall. Yes, his game, Struds, like he's fast. You look at his top speed is in the 95th percentile, the top speed that he has hit this year. So now he doesn't hit close to that very often. He's down in the 50th percentile in terms of speed bursts, but he can skate fast. And we have talked about this team needing to generate a little bit more speed in their game. He naturally will help them do that. The Oilers are not as good off the rush this year because they do not have as much speed, especially throughout their second, third, and fourth lines. And so in some ways, he maybe has the potential to help this. But it's interesting. He doesn't kill penalties, or at least he wasn't in St. Louis. Doesn't put up much in the way of numbers. He did have a 20-goal season with Toronto in 18-19. But, 6 in 73 last season, 22 points. And he had just one goal and was -6 so far this year. By the way, the metrics on him, 5-on-5 was on the ice for 1 goal for and 7 goals against. His possession metrics aren't great. The analytics folks won't love this pickup necessarily, Struds. But some speed. And, oh, by the way, one other stat for you. His hits per 60, 7.9. That would make him 4th on the Oilers. So he's not afraid to finish off a check here and there, though I know that doesn't matter.
So this reminds me of when I play a course and let's say you have to hit over water off the tee box and the carry's 305, maybe 295. There's a chance I can get it over, but most likely I'm not going to. And that's what's going on with this pickup. There's a chance it could really work out well for both the player and the team. But most likely it's not going to. I think he's here to get a look, see, they can try him out. Maybe he finds something. Maybe they know something of him. And I was trying to think, where's the connection? Is there someone connected? Because a lot of time these waivers picked up are we had Rob Brown. I coached him in whatever, Kamloops, and then we bring him in here. I can't figure out the connection. No one's really worked with the team, either Toronto or St. Louis as a coach or a manager, have they?
I thought the same thing too, Strides. I was trying to figure out if there's anyone on the Oilers bench that would have known Kapanen at some point. I I don't know. So and it's like, and he's a player that really I don't remember other than about 5-6 years ago. I remember at one point you're like, oh, this guy's not bad. Didn't he?
Right.
I thought he played with Pittsburgh too. Didn't he play with the Penguins for a little bit as well?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So I remember seeing him, but he's been quiet for a few years. So again, here's a chance. Here's a break. I don't know if there was a whole lot of thought that Podkolzin would be playing with Connor and Leon when they picked him up at the beginning of the season. So maybe Kapanen will be a nice surprise as well.
Ron Nelson reminding that Jeff Jackson was with Toronto as an assistant general manager. I'm not sure if it was at the exact same timeline, but
there you go.
Maybe some familiarity there through the organization. I wanted to, I'm just trying to grab it here. I know when he was in St. Louis this season, he didn't kill penalties. I'm not sure how much of that he's done throughout the rest of his career. I just grabbed his time on ice and the penalty kill from this season, and it wasn't something that he did. So bottom six players who aren't necessarily special teams players. I mean, those are tough, right? They have a hard time finding those guys enough ice time. I guess the question becomes, guys, when Arvidsson is ready to go, as he just gets sent down to the minors and maybe he gets reclaimed, or maybe this is kind of a short-term thing here. There are those who think maybe it's the Oilers' way to fire a little jab back at the St. Louis Blues, though I don't know that this would be much of a jab back.
That's
like one of my retorts when Struds is ripping me, just like
shots fired.
Kasperi Kapanen.
Take two of our best young players, and we'll take an old one who's probably nearing the end and probably going to be back in Europe within 6 months. So I just don't think that's I can't say I don't see that. But I guess my question is, let's assume he makes it here for Thursday. Where would you play him?
Well, it all depends on the extra forward spot. I mean, depending on what happens.
It all depends on Hyman, though. We don't know if Hyman's playing or not.
Let's assume Hyman's healthy. Yeah, if Hyman's
healthy, then Kapanen would be on your fourth line. Then he would play with Perry and Ryan.
Yeah,
I would think so.
And he gets his 7 minutes, 6 minutes, somewhere in there.
Well, not if that. If it's a close game, less than that, because he's not on the power play or the penalty kill.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, he's got to have. If the best thing he can do is score in his first game to get someone's attention, like he's got to.
True.
That's a lot of when you get picked up like this, you've really got to come out of the gates firing, like literally,
or 2 or 3 huge hits. Something like that.
You got to do something. Like you got to be noticed. Like it doesn't matter if you play 60 seconds. You need to make the most of your opportunity because there's a lineup of people above you.
Yep.
Okay, guys, back to the game here real quick. We never talked about Stuart Skinner. I mean, clear he would have wanted to bounce back, and he was able to do that. Here's Skinner post-game.
Well, we have
That's Chris Knobloch.
Skinner, I thought was
that's Chris Knobloch too.
Yeah,
there's Skinner.
Yeah, look back on some stuff and just trying to make progress every single day, every single game. Thought I was able to do that today, and just understand that you got to make the right decisions at the right time. And I think tonight was a good stepping stone in the right direction.
All right. There you have it. Stuart Skinner. Guys, like a better performance. I thought he was steady. It was one of those nights where he kind of wasn't all over the place. Like Knobloch actually said after the game, he thought Skinner was a big difference in this game, Brownie.
I think so. I think there were times. It's funny. This was a game that Connor and Leon were excellent in, but the Oilers did make some big mistakes. The start of the third period, they have a 3-goal lead, and they gave up 2 breakaways and a couple of grade A scoring chances, and Skinner made those saves. And it didn't seem that important at the time because they had a 3-goal lead. So it wasn't like, oh, it's a tie game and here's a breakaway and Skinner makes a save. It's like, oh, well, it really wouldn't have mattered if he scored anyways. But he never let them get that goal to give the Senators life. I know that on the game, Jack kept talking about it was not a lot of life in the building. The Senators needed a goal to get life, and Skinner never gave it to him. I thought it was a good bounce-back game. I thought he was good. And hopefully – 2 things happened tonight. Skinner had a bounce-back game, and Nugent Hopkins scored. Whether it was a meaningless goal or not, he scored a goal. I think both those players needed a confidence boost, and both got it.
If Brownie's allowed to always bring his comments back to goal scoring, I'm allowed to bring it back to something that matters. Penalty
Here we
killing.
go on the PK.
Penalty
Here we
killing.
go on the PK, yeah.
You're not going to talk about it? How many times do I have to tell you through text? Let's talk about the PK.
Oh, that's you. I had that number. I didn't have your name up there. That's you
Jeez.
that's saying that?
Guys, they're off the floor. They're off the mat. They're at 30th place now after this. This is 5 games in a row they haven't been scored on. I know
After
before that
giving
wasn't
one up
great.
in 6 straight.
Yeah, I know, but you got to start somewhere, buddy. You got to
So
start
they've
somewhere.
given one up in 6 of their last 11.
Yeah, so well, tomorrow, maybe, hopefully Thursday, it'll be 6 and 12. You got to start somewhere. Listen, you guys, you know how much that PK meant to this team last year. We need to.
I thought you were going to say meant to you. I thought you were going to. You know how
it
much
means a lot to me.
It means everything.
I was ready to promote Mark Stewart to coach. I was ready to put him as head coach here. He was doing such a good job.
The PK. I mean, 5 in a row. That's solid, man. From where they are to where they were to where they are now. Shane Matheson, since Emberson Ekholm together, PK has been perfect. Some subtle tweaks there, personnel-wise, that we have seen. Yeah, sorry, Struds. You did actually say, let's get to the PK. I wasn't trolling you. I just forgot.
That's all right. I know you guys want to talk about this. It's always about the scoring. Why don't we just stop scoring from the other team scoring so we only have to score 1 or 2 instead of 5?
All right. Well, more on that, I'm sure, coming up in Struddy's world. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got brownie points. We got Struddy's world. We got our core blue liners taking a lap. Ask us anything. We got a ton of show left, so take a quick break and we'll keep going. This has Got Your Back presented by Play Alberta.
So at Timberhouse, our guiding philosophy is naturally inspired living. We believe that through design, we can solve problems and enhance people's lives. We follow biophilic design principles in all of our builds to incorporate natural materials, natural light, to enhance all the spaces in a home. When you have your space perfectly reflect who you are and what you value, and it's made well, we think that that just leads to better living.
When you make a mistake, heads should roll. It's not right. And I'm here. Someone has to put their foot down. Now that I say it out loud, it does sound a little crazy. God, I look good.
You know what that laugh means. Time now for Struddy's World, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Whether you're a homeowner, contractor, or builder, DLR is the most reliable source for vinyl fence. Unmatched service, high-quality North American-made products. Visit DLRvinylproducts.ca. And with a further dissertation on the Oiler penalty kill, I present Jason Strudwick. Struds will just sit back.
We're doing 10-second breakdowns of the PK tonight. The last 5 games. No, but I think we got to give the D-men some love. And specifically, I'm going to talk about
Shocking.
Brett Kulak. I haven't talked about the D. I haven't brought the D up in at least 20 minutes. Brett Kulak, this guy's been asked to play the offside. And I remember in the past he'd been asked, and he expressed he wasn't really into it. Well, now he looks into it and he's really starting to figure out what he needs to do to be good at it. I think the one thing he's really identified is how much easier it is as a D-man when you're on your offside to use your stick to really to defend off the rush. Because you got to think about it. As an offside D, if you're playing your offside, the person coming down is usually have their stick on the wall. So it's harder to reach it if you're on your normal hand. But as a lefty playing on the right side, you can get your stick and you put your stick on puck. And he's really figured that out because you can see so many times players are coming down and they've got to change their idea, whether it's passing or shooting, because his stick is right in front of them defending with his ability to get there because he skates so well, but also his stick to, on puck. So Brett Kulak to me is actually, it's good to see it. He's getting confidence. He's playing well. Tonight he had tons of shots. I don't know if he had 3 or 4 shots. He's coming along for the Oilers. He's making the most of this opportunity, even without Darnell and Nurse there to play alongside quite a bit, boys.
I agree. I think Kulak's been outstanding. Up until this past little while with McDavid now playing like McDavid, I thought Kulak was the only player through games 120 who has actually played to his potential overachieved. And then you throw in the fact he's the pressure of having to move up, play on the wrong side in the top 4 minutes, bouncing all around with whoever he's playing with, playing as a 7, having when they have 7 defensemen. Kulak's been excellent. And I do believe, and it's been thrown out a few times. It does give the Oilers options come trade deadline when they start looking for what they need in their second pairing, because now they have Kulak, who's proven thus far only through 20 games that he's capable of the extra minutes.
You're muted, big guy.
You're muted there, Sugar.
Sorry, boys. You talk about the extra minutes. Like, there was a real clear turning point. Played 21 minutes against Pittsburgh Penguins. His season high to that point had been 1740. All of a sudden, boom, 21, then 20, 18, 2045, 2051. He was down to 16 the next game, 23, 20, 20, 21, 2150, 2120. Like, there was a very clear point where they leaned into this player. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact, Struds, there just wasn't a lot working with that other platooning guys in next to Nurse and just trying to, nothing was sticking, right? And they finally just decided to lean into Brett Kulak. An interesting guy, man. A third pairing defenseman all year long that turns into a second pairing defenseman in the playoffs. Like, some of his best hockey's been in the playoffs, but they're getting some of that from him here in the regular season.
Yeah, and those are top 4 minutes for sure when you get 20 plus. But his skating is so good.
So good.
We've always known
So
that, but
good.
he's really using it to his advantage, I think, in that role, because he can skate with anyone in the league. And he practices against Connor McDavid, so he can test it out there. And I remember interviewing him one time. I said, how did you become such a good skater? He's like, I was a pretty good skater as a youngster, but I decided I was going to invest a lot of time and energy into becoming an even better skater. And it shows. Like, he is just beautiful to watch. But, when you can cover space like that, you can take a little bit more risk with your gap and the way you play guys and surf over. It's been a really good start with this new idea of him being the top 4 guy.
Yeah. One of the other residual benefits, too, is it's been able to take some of that pressure off Emberson and just let Emberson play where he should be playing. Hey, Brownie?
100%. Emberson looks much more comfortable without the stress of having to be a top 4 guy, not having to go against the other team's top players. I agree. And Emberson might eventually get there, but he gets to get there in baby steps instead of being thrown into the fire. So I think it has really helped him as a hockey player.
All right, Struddy's nightly dissertation on why blue liners are the best, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Zuby, roll the happy music, buddy. Time for Brownie to bring us back into some creative alignment here. Time for Brownie Points, brought to you by Hamel's Premium Jerky. If you need a unique idea for your team or school's fundraiser, they can help raise money, customizing a bunch of options of their world-famous jerky, 13 flavors, all-new jerky and pepperoni bundle that is really, really flipping good. And they got a great sale on $85 for 3 pounds of jerky. That's regular $120. So it's a great deal. As always, free shipping Alberta-wide. For more details, visit albertajerky.com. Brownie.
I'm going to start by giving 100 brownie points out to the St. Albert School District. Last week was the fall break, and that meant I had a whole week off of not having to go to work. I got a lot of stuff around the house done. Got to go to the pub a lot. Today was my first day back at school, and I had to get up early. It's not as much fun. So I know I love the fall break. I'm now pushing for a monthly break of 1 week every month of the year. So if the school districts are listening out there, you will get 100 brownie points each month if you do that for me. I've got 20 brownie points to the Oilers superstars. Last night, they were minus 13. Tonight, 2, 14, 29, and 97 were plus 11 with 9 points. The best players rarely have back-to-back off games. They didn't tonight. They were fantastic and a big reason that the Oilers won. I got 931 brownie points for Stuart Skinner. He had a 931 save percentage tonight. He had a tough night in Toronto. Took a lot of heat from people, the fans. We got it on our call-in show with Ched. I know there's people on this where they were sending in the little texts and stuff. Skinner was good tonight. His coaching staff saw that. Good on Stuart Skinner having a bounce-back game as well. I got 12 brownie points for Mark Scheifele. 2 of the best teams in the league went at it tonight. The Florida Panthers and the Winnipeg Jets. Mark Scheifele had a hat trick tonight, up to 12 goals on the season, and they are a best. I believe it's 15-2 or 16-2 on the season. Mark Scheifele, look for his name around Four Nations Cup. He's having a fantastic start to the season. Yeah, he's got a fantastic
put himself
start.
More firmly in the conversation there, Brownie, for sure.
100%. And I got 33 brownie points for Kirill Kaprizov. He had 2 goals tonight. He's up to 13 goals on the season, 33 points. That's second in the National Hockey League to Nathan McKinnon. He is a superstar. And boys and girls, we're going to have a fun night on Thursday because 2 of the best players in the world are going head-to-head, Kaprizov and McDavid. And when superstars play against McDavid, they want to impress. I'm looking forward to seeing Kaprizov out there on Thursday night. And my final one, this was added late during the show. It's minus 34 brownie points to my good friend Jason Strudwick, who had his big boy sneeze live on air as I was trying to talk. That was a huge sneeze. I don't know if you muted or what you did, but like there was like if we could do like the, you know, you put stuff in pictures, like you could have had an explosion as you were sneezing there live on air.
It. I muted it.
Nobody else missed it. No one else missed it. Like it was boom. You know when that big head starts a bobbing and the sneezes are coming? That was it. So minus 34 for Jason Strudwick, sneeze boy tonight.
You know, and I'm not going to lie. It feels good when you sneeze. I like that feeling.
I do too, but just not on camera.
Well, what do you want me to do? You want me to get up and leave? It's not like I was dying or throwing up or something. It was just
yeah. One of the greatest
if you're dying, don't leave if you're dying. If you're dying, you got to stay on camera so we can help you.
One of the great travesties is when there are a lot of people out there that do this. When you suppress a sneeze, it's just such a waste. It's such a waste of, like, you got to lean into the sneeze, man. It feels, it's a release. Your body needs it. It feels good. You know those people that are like, and they do that? They just hold it in. Like, don't do that. You got to just let her buck.
Let it go.
The body needs it, Struddy.
When I was in junior, our coach, you know, he'd never wanted us to yawn. And so when I was at practice or he was having a meeting and he'd catch me, he's like, "Are you yawning?" I'm like, "No, I got to sneeze." He's like, "Okay, that's all right." Because the motion looks the same.
Was that Hazer?
Hazer, yeah.
and you don't want him mad at you, Hazer. He'd get mad.
I think he knew, but what are you going to do? You can't, there's no check. No.
Quaddy, who is smart and does books, apparently, he says the sneeze is an endorphin release. So Quaddy with a little bit of doing science on the Hockey Pod tonight. An endorphin release, which I guess is good for all of us. Okay, Brownie, you are released for the night, my friend. So thank you, buddy. And I guess we will chat after the Minnesota game, my friend.
Sounds good. Have fun, guys.
See you, bud.
Okay, sounds good, pal. That is Rob Brown.
Jeez.
Okay, when we come back, Strugs, we'll do a deep dive. Who we got in HSC Core Blue Liners tonight, buddy?
Nick Jensen.
Yes, Nick Jensen. We've heard his name around these parts in recent years. Potential trade target? Interesting. I'm not sure. I asked a few people that are in and around the Ottawa area that are in and around that team if that player potentially moves. A lot more likely than Artem Zub, I would say. But coming up next, closer look at Nick Jensen. We'll take a lap and then ask us anything here on Got Your Back.
At Gallery Dental, we believe in blending exceptional care with artistry to create the perfect smile for you. From routine cleanings to advanced cosmetic procedures, our team is dedicated to providing top-notch care in a relaxed and comfortable environment. With state-of-the-art technology and a passion for perfection, we ensure that every visit is a positive experience. Join the Gallery Dental family and let us help you achieve a smile that you'll love to show off. Contact us today at secolandentistry.com.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
Mike Smith chiming in saying, suppressing a sneeze also bursts capillaries, and reminding us that his comment is sciencey too. burst capillaries. Why would you risk that when a simple endorphin release helps us all? You learn things here on Got Your Back. That's what we strive to do. Let's get to Core Blue Liners. Learn something about Nick Jensen, brought to you by HSE Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, HSE Core has your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program that meets all legislation and core requirements, HSE Core supports clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsecore.com. That's HSECOR.com for more information. We know that some Got Your Back listeners have already gotten in touch with them, and we love that. Make sure you give them a call if you're a business owner and you think they can help you, and tell them that Got Your Back sent you. Struds, let's talk a little Nick Jensen, shall we?
Yeah, so someone asked me how we pick the D-men, and oftentimes we'll pick someone I really like and or someone who is a potential trade target to fill a hole on the Oilers blue line. So Nick Jensen's a guy whose name, as you mentioned, Shogger's kind of been out there for a little while. And people probably aren't that familiar with him because he's played mostly out east. Well, he's a guy I've kind of followed, and I've liked him since I saw him play for Detroit for quite a few years, then over to Washington, now over to Ottawa. He's a really good skater, really, really good skater, positionally very sound, and he's competitive. In those three ways, he reminds me a lot of Brett Kulak, except he's a right shot. Like those three things, he's quite similar. Both are great skaters. He jumps up and follows the play. He's not a guy that I've seen carry the play, like carry the puck all the way up there, but he's that second wave of D-men. Like I've kind of talked about what Darnell Nurse does really well, amongst other things. But he's a good skater, good positional, and competitive. So for those three reasons, I think he would be a good fit for the Edmonton Oilers. The one thing that, it's like my wish list, he's only 6 feet tall. And when you look at recent Stanley Cup champions, their D-men have been 2 inches, 3 inches taller than that on average to get him to look at the Oilers D last year. They were all big guys. So like the player, checks a lot of good boxes, a right shot. I think he'd be a nice compliment beside Darnell Nurse because he is positionally sound. This is a veteran. This guy's been around a while. But that height, Shogger, it's not a concern, but to use your words, it's noted. It's notable.
Notable. He is 34 years of age, got a year left on his deal. His cap hit, by the way, should have mentioned it off the top, $4.05 million. Yeah. So certainly room for the Oilers to bring him in. Ottawa potentially could eat some of that as well. So, whether there's a fit there or not, we shall see. Possession-wise, like through the course of his career, through all those years in Washington, for those of you who pay attention to Corsi and such, this is the first year where he's actually trending towards being over 50%. His career, he's at 44.5. Has a lot to do with who you're playing with and who your partners are and the strength of your team and all that stuff. But at 34 years of age, is pushing better numbers on that front than he has in previous years as well. Interesting, Struds. How important is that size, do you think? Like, they had Desharnais before. Ceci wasn't massive, but he was a bigger body, right? Yeah, I'm just thinking what they've got, right? Ekholm and Bouchard. Like, Bouchard's 6'2"-ish.
Yeah.
Or more. Ekholm's a big dude. Nurse is a big dude. So you're pretty good through your top 3 guys just in terms of overall height and reach. And then Emberson, not so much. Yeah, Kulak, not so much. None of the other guys really are. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Kulak's 6'1" or 6'2", isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that, even look at Florida last year. They had taller D-men. And you go back to Vegas 2 years ago, their D-man, their shortest guy was, I want to say 6'3", and that might've been the guy sitting out, Alec Martinez, although he was 6'2". So maybe that's, but they're very tall. And the big things, they take up space, they get in the way. And Broberg was over 6'2" for sure, skated like the wind. The challenge for this is that if you're trained for this guy, he's older, right? So you're going to have him for, maybe this year and next year, which maybe that's enough. But, you've got to assume the Oilers are going to win they're going to sign Connor McDavid. I'm just going to go on a limb here and say that for this discussion. Mm-hmm. So do you trade for a guy who has probably 2 years left And then you got Ekholm, who's getting a little bit older, and you trade away assets, young D, whatever it is. And now you're running out of replacements for those guys when they come out. Because you got to look, I know you want to win now, but you also have to look a little bit ahead and think, okay, what are we going to have left here for the last 7 years of Connor McDavid's contract, right? And I know you shouldn't talk like that, but, you know, can you get a guy who's a little bit younger and be here for longer?
That's part of why the Broberg scenario hurt so much, is because that was just so clearly the succession plan for Matthias Ekholm. I mean, it just was.
Yeah.
All right. That was Core Blue Liners, brought to you by HSE Core Services. Lots else going on around the National Hockey League today, so let's take a couple of laps. Presented by Aecon. 150 years they've got in the construction industry across Canada, across North America, an original leader in heavy industrial contracting, operating proudly here in Edmonton as well. And they are always hiring. So if you're looking for a great company to work for, go to aecon.com and click Join Our Team. They got a wide variety of jobs across a bunch of different skill sets. If you are looking for work, if someone you know is looking for work, let them know. Aecon's looking for good people. Aecon.com. And then click on Join Our Team. Struds, there was a firing today in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, big firing. And this one, I feel bad for the coach. I mean, he's won so much. Jim Montgomery, the Boston Bruins, had done so many things right for that team. But this year, they're just not going. And on many categories, they're last or close to last place. So Montgomery is out. And Joe Sacco, who is a coach, I believe, with Colorado for a while, former player, actually played against him. He's now the guy in charge of that Boston Bruins team, trying to right the ship. Life's not fair, right? You think about it, he was a nominee for the Coach of the Year just, 18 months, two years ago, and he's out the door now.
A couple years ago. Just insane now what that team did with him.
Yeah, so he's out. So looking for answers in Boston that doesn't include getting rid of any of their players right now.
Yeah, our team's inconsistency in performance in the first 20 games of the season have been concerning and below how the Bruins want to reward our fans. I believe Joe Sacco has the coaching experience to bring the players and the team back to focusing on the consistent effort the NHL requires to have success. We'll continue to work to make the necessary adjustments, blah. That was the general manager, Don Sweeney. And remember, Montgomery's a guy that worked his way back, right? Went through some really tough personal issues, dealt with some addiction issues, talked openly about that. Was a phenomenal story and an incredible change in tone from what the Bruins were used to in Bruce Cassidy when Montgomery came in. Seemed like everything went right. But some thoughts at the guys. I don't know if they stopped playing for him a little bit. I don't know. The relationships look strained at times. Don't know what's real behind the scenes, but nonetheless, Montgomery is out. I think he'll probably find work again. He's probably coaching in the league next year. Hey, Struds?
Oh, yeah, I think he will for sure.
Yeah.
I think the next hot seat in the NHL is Sweeney, the general manager of the Boston Bruins. This is his team. And, we'll see what happens with that. But he's been GM there a long time and done a pretty good job. But there's always a shelf life for all of them. Next up, Ovi in his great quest to break Wayne Gretzky's record. Going to have to delay it for a little bit here. Last night against Utah, we talked a little bit about that hit he and McBain I didn't think it was malicious at all, just an accident. He's out week to week with a lower body injury, and I got to believe it's a knee or an ankle or something. So that's put on hold for the short term. Rishaug. And then finally, kind of surprising news, at least for me, out of Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks released a press story, or released this morning, that JT Miller's taken an indefinite leave of absence from the team, just to deal with something or whatever. And they didn't give any other details. Rick Tocchet was asked if his benching of or slowing down of his play of JT Miller in the third period last game was effective. He said, no, this is it. And they just asked everyone to respect his privacy and, let him just do what he needs to do. So obviously personally for him, I hope everything's he can find what he needs, or whatever's going on can be sorted out in a positive way. For the team left behind now, you've got no Miller, you've got no Brock Besser, and you've got no Thatcher Demko. So three huge players for this team are unavailable. And I think Besser's a concussion, right? And then Demko's this
Yeah, he took
mysterious
that hit.
knee injury. Yeah. It's concussion, leave of absence for JT, and then you've got the mysterious knee injury with Demko that I have no idea where it's at. You know, it seems like he's skating, that he's not skating. I'm not sure. So a lot of challenges for Rick Tuck and his team there.
My buddy Rob listens to the show all the time when the Miller news came out today, and he listed the same list of players you just listed. He said, "Is it too late to get Bo Horvat back?" That's where his head was at as a Canucks fan. He feels like it's kind of unraveling underneath him, and I didn't exactly have words of comfort for him, so ride the wave. But certainly hope that everything is okay with JT Miller, that whatever needs to be dealt with gets dealt with, and that he gets back playing, because when he's on his game, one of the more entertaining players in the league to watch, Struds. He's just a bundle of energy, highly skilled player. I mean, you said the other night he's their best player? I think you did the other night, didn't you?
Yeah.
Someone did. Maybe it was Ray. I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, he's a really good player. And he was their best player in the playoffs last year. And playing against the Oilers, he competes, and he's really hard, really emotional guy, which is, you know, it can be a lot to manage for a coach and a team, right? But that emotional side of him is what makes him so good. So it's, I just hope he's okay. I hate seeing this stuff. I hate seeing when people have to get away, and I just hope he's okay. And obviously, I think it's better for hockey when there's great players on the ice all over the place.
Totally agree. All right, that was Taking a Lap, brought to you by our friends over at Acon. We're going to open up the stream here and get to Ask Us Anything. But before we do that, Struds, grab your scoreboard. Let's see what else is going on around the National Hockey League, presented by Canadian Club. In honor of the founding year of the CC Distillery, 1858, when it was founded, the all-new Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof comes in at 58%. It's a whopper. Highest proof Canadian Club Classic to date. Full-bodied whiskey, aromas of caramel, toffee, spicy vanilla, and rich oak with a butterscotch finish. If you want to know where you can get it, go onto the website Liquor Connect and type in Canadian Club 18, and it will show you the stores that is currently stocking it in your area. Struds?
Winnipeg Jets continued their winning ways in a nice bounce-back win against the Florida Panthers, 6-3. Kind of a neat situation here, and I know that Scheifele had the hat trick, but Morgan Barron scored 2 empty net shorthanded goals at the end, the 5th and 6th goal. So it was 4-3 and then 2 into empty netters shorthanded. He buried. So I love it. I'm loving seeing that kind of a cool moment for him. And then the Wild, they take on the Blues 4-2. And I like Dylan Holloway, and always watching. Tonight, he only played 9 minutes. Only played 9 minutes in that game. So I think that's kind of an interesting little ditty. And then the Flames, they get the 2-1 win against Islanders in overtime. And my favorite player, Pierre Engvall, scored a goal tonight to make it happen. So I think that's always really special. And sorry, it was in a shootout. My bad. But so Flames win. And then the Canucks are in Rangers. New York, I guess, playing the Rangers. Or sorry, they're not. They're playing at home. My bad. But either way, it's in second period. And it's tied up at 3. So we won't know that till a little later.
Yeah, don't have that result early on in the third period. All right, that was your scoreboard, brought to you by Canadian Club Whiskey. Zuby, hop on in here, my friend. People don't know this, but Zuby was driving around like a madman today. Barely got through the door in time to get the show executed. And Zuby, you've done a great job, buddy. It's been so smooth. Everything has gone really, really well. No one would know that you were being super dad, driving like a madman in the hours right before the show. How do you get it all together, buddy? How do you do it?
Don't jinx it. I don't. I pull my hair out. And then I just put on a calm face when I sit down here. This is my happy place.
All right. And look, you're even rolling the graphic because I forgot to read the read. Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Mortgages by Maria. Maria's great. She's done lots of mortgage work for Randine and I. And the cool thing about working with Maria, you really get the feeling that she's all over it. So I often call her and I say, would this work? Would that work? And then you hear tip, tap on the calculator behind the scenes. And she says, no. Or she says, yes. She gets the answers right away and she cares. So I use her and I recommend you do too. Mortgagesbymaria.ca. That's Maria Gallus with Maximal Mortgages. And with the rates coming down, good time to give her a shout and just see what might be possible. Zuby, you talk for a while. I'm tired of talking.
Sure. Okay, lots of good stuff on the stream tonight. CK Pond says, Oilers went nuclear and it worked. Not ideal, but they need goals. And I would do the same next game. We touched on this a tiny bit, but do you guys think they'll be back with that same top line or the same lineup if you see any other tweaks?
Well, I think I really give credit to Brownie because he's astutely said if there's no Hyman or if there is Hyman, that really affects the way things are shaken down. So I don't know. I get why he put them together. I do like when they're apart more, and I'll keep ringing this bell. They got to help Skinner figure out how to play on this team the way that he needs to play with those two centers.
They got Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek together, right? So that's a pretty loaded up line. Johansson, Rossi, and Hartman is currently listed as their second line, if this is up to date. So I don't know. I think you're safe loading up a line. Just let them go head to head with Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I could see that making sense, but you're probably not going to get a lot of goals out of your other lines. Although I guess Nuge scored today.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the start of it. Let's see what's up with Hyman.
Okay, Machine Gun Yanmark says, I hope they keep Josh Brown up as long as possible. He's huge and offers a much different element on this team. Would take some heavy lifting off Nurse having to fight all the time. It's still been limited minutes in these two games, but what have you guys thought overall of Josh Brown? Has he already improved his standing in these two games from where he found himself after the preseason?
He's a seventh defenseman, right? That's what he is. And so when Nurse comes back, I have a hard time seeing them sitting Emberson out. I guess he could take a spot of Stetcher, but I think Stetcher brings something that he doesn't. So he can be your extra guy, but no, I don't see a regular spot in the rotation. I said that when they signed him. I said I think he'd play 40 games a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like the fight, like the fact that he gives them size. He had some decent moments, but I think he has a tendency, like he can get exposed, Struds. A lot of 6 or 7 defensemen, the odd shift, if they get caught out there against high-end players, they can kind of hold their own. Respectfully, Josh Brown is one of those players. If he gets caught out there against the wrong people, he's going to get exposed. I just think we've seen it a few times, and I think that's why he wasn't able to make the team coming out of training camp.
Do you think this stint, though, has helped his position?
His play in the American League was really, really strong, and they were eager and happy to get him up because he played so well in the American League, was scrapping like crazy, playing really well. He's a good AHL defenseman, Struddy, but it's a bit of a reach for him when it really heats up on the big team.
I don't believe there'd be anybody in this organization rooting against Josh Brown. They're happy he's here. There's a reason he signed him for 3 years. He's an insurance policy, and when they need him, he'll come up and he can play. But I know that spot. At the end of my career, that's who I was, right? You're fun-loving guy, you fight, you guys feel safe when you're around, but you know that when push comes to shove, you're probably not playing. And that's just the way it is. So, yeah.
3-year deal, bud. 3-year deal. Hey, man.
Yeah, there's security.
Ride the wave.
No doubt about it on a team that's pretty fun to be on. But in the playoffs, I believe he'd be your 8th or 9th. And that's with a lot of respect because I know the spot he's in.
I have to give a shout out to, I don't have the comment from Noel Rinsky last night, who was, just kind of saying, looking at the big picture, comparing it to last year and saying it was a bad game. Let's all take a deep breath. Andrew Lamouche adding that Oilers were 15 points back of Vegas for first in the Pacific last season. This year, 2 points back as of today. Points in, a bunch of the recent, whatever it is, 5, 6, 7 games minus Montreal. Was last night just so bad that we might have all overreacted a little?
No, I love that. I was looking at the standings now. They played more games than everybody else. They're at 20, but they're in the top 3 right now with Pacific. I don't think that'll hold when other teams catch up and play some games. But let's look at the things we can outline. Can the PP improve? 100%. And I think it will. Can the PK improve? Yes, I think it has, and I believe it will continue to get better. Just those two things alone are worth points, right? Those are worth wins. Nuge, Hyman, Skinner, are these guys going to start scoring more? Yes, I believe they will. Emberson's coming on. I think Nurse being out and he was playing well. I think that helps. Like, Skinner, he's won, what has he won? 4 or 5 of his last games he's played. So maybe not all works of art, but just little pieces are starting to fall into place. So they're hanging around, and I think there's reason for optimism here.
I'm going to grab one here from Ro Nelson calling me out a little bit. Says, how many Condors games you watch, Ryan? LOL. I've watched all season, and Brown is not good in the AHL. So somebody that pays closer attention saying that he hasn't been that impressive. Ro, I spoke with someone in the organization after Nurse had happened, and I was told that they had been quite happy with his play recently, like in the last 3 or 4 games. I think it has to do, I think he picked up a few points, but they loved the fact that he was fighting hard for his teammates. And I think they felt like that wouldn't hurt in a 7 defenseman situation up here. So fair point by you. I don't watch all the games, but the organization or the people I spoke to had said there was an uptick recently, and that's why they called him up. But thanks for keeping me honest.
We'll take a quick break from hockey. Lots of people asking about merch here. We got a couple of fine hats here showing. We also had Noel Rinsky saying, weird question, but is there a place we could go to try on a GYB hoodie or similar, for the sizing or something? We got people asking
come to
about
my house.
Yeah, I'll give out the address. I'll put the address on Twitter.
You will
bring
not,
your golf
sir.
clubs.
You shall not.
Bring your golf clubs.
Yeah, nowhere to try one on. What I would say, I'm trying to remember which size I got. Because we test ordered a bunch a couple before we put them on the website just to figure out what sizes were right. And I think I found the sizes to be fairly accurate. So if you generally wear an extra large, grab an extra large. You don't have to grab a couple sizes too big. But we do have a merch store on the website, gybpod.com. I think merch is where you click. And there's a few different things. We've added a couple of different elements and stuff there. So there are a couple different things that you can buy. I do want to warn you, though, if you buy past a certain amount, like this printing process that we use is still in the States, so you have to pay some duty. I think I touched base with one of the other gentlemen who bought a hoodie, and I think he said he paid $12 extra for duty to get it across the border. So just full transparency on that. Don't want you to be hit with costs that you weren't expecting. That's why we have it priced. We don't make anything in the way of money on these things. So, but there is merch available.
Is that Euro cut? Just I'm just wondering because I like it.
No.
Tight.
Yeah, no, Struds. It's it'd be a men's large for you.
I'll have to get
if
them.
You want it tight.
I'll have to get it tailored. I'll have to get them tailored. That's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll deal. I have my own tailor.
And what about toques? Do we have toques yet?
Oh, did I do a toque? I thought I built up a toque. Maybe I don't have it on the site yet. I'll try and get you know what? I'll put it on my list for tomorrow. Just one sec here. I'll put it on my list as we speak.
Okay, I'm going to go to this next
Remind me to get toques on the website tomorrow.
That's number
done.
one.
It's on the list, folks.
There you go. Asking you.
It's number one on your list. Don't act like you're that busy. I've got a list. Yeah, that's the top. You're not Santa Claus checking your list.
Okay, Andrew Lamouche said, guys were probably hungover in the Montreal game. LOL. Hey, they looked more fresh tonight. Struds, like, they're human beings. They have bad nights. Does that stuff still happen? Is there a night? Oh, you talked about the Penguins rookie party. We made light of that. Yeah. But how is that still happening? Or is there a pretty tight leash on that?
This is 3 and 4. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
No, not in 3 and 4. There's no chance you're doing that in 3 and 4. Like that'd be not looked upon well from the coach. That's for sure. So no, I just think I had a coach tell me one time that like there's 10 games you're going to win no matter what, and there's 10 games you're going to lose. So I think that was one of the 10 they're just going to lose. Like the other team's hot, the other team's got a hot goalie, you're feeling like dog turds or whatever, right? Like that's just the way it is. That's human nature. I know that people, they're professional athletes. I get it, but they're humans. They're not robotics.
Okay, CK Pond bringing up, this is maybe for taking a lap, but he says Austin Matthews went to Germany to see a doctor. Yeah. Apparently, I don't know if you guys saw this report today. They said no change in timeline, no setback, whatever. Is that any cause for concern for Leaf fan?
Well, Brad Treliving, I thought I saw he or someone said it's not a big concern, but it's like the Demko thing. It's just odd, right? It's just like, what's going on? Why would you go to Germany if everything's A-okay to get a second opinion? You couldn't find an opinion here. I saw a funny Twitter. Someone said he didn't go to Germany. He actually went to Turkey to get hair plugs. And that, honestly, like I was dying when I saw that. And I know I can't stand bald guys, but that is a really funny line. And I can't remember who I credit it to.
You're not baldest, are you? You're not biased against the follically challenged, are you, Struds?
Yeah, well, people don't accept it. I can't stand that people can't accept they're going bald. Like, just admit it. You're going bald.
Right. Okay.
I was going to jump in, so you didn't have to read.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave that be. Go ahead.
Some bits we've kind of touched on, but in perspective, the comparison, Noel Rinsky says, don't look now, but Podkolzin is tied with Holloway in even strength points and played 16 minutes tonight while Dylan played just over 9 minutes. So that replacement, much more budget-friendly replacement, looking comparable now.
Holloway wasn't going to knock the socks off everybody wire to wire for a season here. Like, he wasn't going to go in there and not have any ups and downs. And I mean, we know the player well enough to know it's not just a completely upward trajectory. So there's going to be ups and downs. And every time Dylan Holloway has some downs, I don't think it should be a moment where it's like, oh, see, maybe it's not that bad. Guy's a good player. He's a good young player. He's going to have a good year for him.
Yeah, that one hurt. It hurt.
A couple more, Zuby, and then let's wrap it up.
Okay, on Kapanen, Paulie said Caps injects speed and isn't afraid to take the body, something we desperately need in the lineup. He gets a chance with the big boys before Bako, I would think. And then just kind of piggybacking that idea, Dan Grasser says teams that win the cup typically have points from guys that are not necessarily counted on for that. They need to be able to count on trusting 3+ lines. And if you have Kane slot in, and let's say Kane theoretically goes into the top 6 and you end up with a Podkolzin and or a Kapanen down in your third line, then now maybe you've got some speed and some hitting. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty abstract, but right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what he can do. And the problems, like I said earlier, he's going to get 6-7 minutes if he's on the fourth line. Very hard to shine in 6-7 minutes. So he wants to hit everything, hit someone in warm up, run over a linesman, like anything just to be seen and noticed.
Yeah, if you just come in and skate fast and hit hard, you're going to stand out among some of the other forwards in this lineup. So be interesting to see what he's got.
Okay.
One more, Zuby?
Yeah, last one. Get your calendars out here. I think we did this, for the first 10 games. Paulie wants to know 11 games remain in 2024. What's their record in that span?
Oh, boy.
Paulie's saying 7-3-1.
Okay, well, let's rip through them. Okay, you got the Wild, you got the Rangers, Utah, Colorado. How many games did you say were left?
11.
In what?
2024.
In this calendar year.
I feel like they got more than that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I got 17.
Oh, Paulie got me. Maybe Paulie was just looking at December.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, 17 games left between now and the end of the calendar year. Let's just do that, Mass Struds. If the Oilers can win, 10 of them?
Yeah, I mean they got
that's realistic for this group.
Yeah. So they've got Senators again, I think a couple Bruins, Sharks, Panthers,
Florida,
couple Wild. Like
Vegas.
It's a little bit up and down. Yeah, I mean 10-7. Geez, I would put them 5 games over 500 at going into the new year.
Yeah. The other thing they have is a nice break here, Struds. What do you think of this 6-day break they have after the Ranger game?
Yeah, odd. But maybe for Darnell Nurse getting him back, it's a good thing. Right? I think that's probably not unhealthy.
By you. Yeah, because I mean, the other thing too is you say, well, I don't know if he'll be ready to play by that Ranger game or not. But if you just push him past one more game, then you buy him all that extra time, and then you're making absolutely sure with him. So I wonder if we see him before Utah on the 29th. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Mortgages by Maria. We will wrap the show with our Gallery Dental play of the day.
We're gonna do the poll first.
Oh God!
And before we do the poll, here's a great comment from, especially if you can see his icon here. Anthony S. Scandale says it's growing bald. I guess that's you don't go bald, you grow bald. I like that. Boy. You've something you've earned over time, I guess.
Growing bald. I don't know. I think you grow hair, ideally, don't you? And you go bald. I disagree.
Anyway, I like the effort. Okay, here's the poll really quickly. The DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center YouTube poll. How do you feel about the Kapanen pickup? 46% of the electorate tonight saying nice depth pickup. 20% saying they don't really get it. Don't really get the move. And a tie at the bottom, 16 and 16 for why not just recall Philp instead, or saying that they feel Kapanen is likely AHL bound. Over 250 votes on the poll, and lots of fun on the stream, and good stuff on the chat tonight. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah, great job, Zuby. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Mortgages by Maria. Let's do our Gallery Dental play of the day, Mr. Strudwick. From air polisher, cleanings to advanced treatments, Gallery Dental offers that full range of services designed to keep your smile healthy. Their experienced team provides personalized care with the latest technology to make sure you get the absolute best treatment possible. GalleryDentalYEG.com is the website. Where are we going tonight, Struds?
Going to the gridiron. It sounds like Ed Hervey is going to be the new VP of Football Operations and General Manager of the Elks. And they're putting the band back together. Chris Morris and Ed were teammates. I got to know a little bit of Ed with working with Gregor over there, and you come in and talk to him about football. I learned more from him about football than I did, in those 5 minutes that I did in the whole time. So yeah, it's you're bringing back the Elks way, and I can't wait to see how it goes. But I know Ed will pour his heart and soul into this with another shot at this job that I'm sure he loves and wanted.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, should have hired him the last time around. I know they were limited. They needed somebody that could do like 12 jobs. But it was just a few years of darkness and didn't need to be. I think Hervey would have been a great pick back then. I think it was a mistake not to. I think it's a good choice. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. He definitely understands the relationship between the team and the city. He definitely understands the values that I think a lot of the fan base still hold dear. And I think Struds, he's going to, as much as he does from the position he's getting here as the GM, I think he'll push for those things to continue and to reconnect.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, hopefully this is a step in the way in the right direction that, G-Ray kind of started last year, halfway through the year.
Yeah. How long for Jason Moss, you think?
I don't know.
You want to talk about getting the band back together?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not. Let's see.
Let's see. All right. Thanks, buddy. Good job tonight.
Likewise. Have a good night.
All right. Zuby, appreciate all the work, my friend. Nice work tonight. Thanks to all of you for joining us on the stream or for downloading and listening to us in podcast form. We'll be back after Thursday's game against the Minnesota Wild. We'll talk to you then. Big shout out to our title sponsors, Play Alberta.